Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boyle Sports, Gorham Park Racecourse, EJ Menswear and Shamrock Thoroughbreds.
As they race up the hill towards the finish, Hark the Herald here on Perry Pass has absolutely bolted up under Paul Townend. On Perry Pass won by wide margin. On the final 150 yards, it's Irish Point for Marie National, who's coming with every stride. They're going to the line. Irish Point, Marie National on the near side.
If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, as it helps to get horse racing content out there to the wider audience. We look forward to reading all your hashtag 5cast selections in the comments section below. Enjoy the show.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Hello, and you're all very welcome. The talking has almost come to an end, and now it's time for action at day one of Cheltenham. Barry Doyle and myself are going to hopefully find you some winners. And for you, our listeners out there, we want you to give us your 7 selections for all 7 races on day one of Cheltenham. And we would like you to have 3 winners or more to enter our competition, which of course is tickets to the Irish Grand National at Fairyhouse on Easter Monday. A cracking day it should. Barry, you and your good wife Emma, to start off the show as we preview day one, had a lovely baby boy before Christmas, and of course the support for you and your wife during what was a tricky enough old time at the beginning with the birth of your son, and Hollow Street have done and helped you out tremendously. For now you and your good wife are trying to give something back, and you're going to ask for maybe the support of some of our listeners as well, if they would like to get involved.
Yeah, I suppose, look, Cheltenham Week, Dave, Holles Street, fantastic charity place, I suppose the Holles Street Foundation, and obviously on the TS Day show, building up to Gorham Park, the big day in January, we started this fundraising. The response has been absolutely fantastic. Cannot thank the staff at Holles Street enough, and I suppose we titled it If Theo Can. He had a rocky first 10 days, I suppose, Dave, but he's absolutely fit and healthy and ready for Cheltenham himself. He actually told me final demand is going to win the Turners this morning, so we'll get to day 2 in due course. But look, the response has been tremendous. We're so grateful to everyone who's supported, and the link will be in the video description throughout the course of the week. And as you can see, it's If Theo Can, Holles Street to home. And I suppose myself and Emma, I have a little bit of catch up to do, but we're planning on obviously doing 100k in the month of March itself. So as I said, I've catch up to do, but hopefully I'll throw some winners into the mix this week. And look, anyone that wants to support down below, Dave, we'd be so grateful. And let's see, can we get it up past 2k? And as I said, the cause, Holles Street Foundation and the staff in the intensive care at Holles Street, we just can't thank them enough, Dave. And as I said, thank you to everyone who's supported so far.
Yes, absolutely. 1,571 in the kitty already. I think you're being very lenient in saying 2. Let's push for 3 this week. We can do this in Champ.ie, and I'm sure we'll get great donations. Right. And on catching up on the kilometres for you to do, we might send you down to Close Sutton for a few rounds of the gallop after Willie is back from Cheltenham next week, and that'll get you into full shape. Right.
What a week, Dave. What a week in store.
Absolutely. Look, it's one of the best in the whole racing year from a national hunt point of view. As I said to you during the week, you're getting to a point where all the talking and this and that and the other, that's done now. It's now time to find out who the best of the best is. For you, Barry Doyle, who's the best of the best in the Supreme, the opening race, 120 in Cheltenham on day 1?
Well, I suppose a half an hour ago as we were recording, I've just hit the pink button, Dave. I'm wearing the pink shirt. I think Kopek de Boer is at that price. To me, he's borderline lay the whole festival. And I look, I've very little against the horse. I'm not saying that he can't win the race. It's simply a price thing versus the opposition. I mean, just looking at the market, I suppose, next in the market, Romeo Coolio and Work Ahead is coming for good support. You could make a case for 5, if not 6 more runners in the race outside of Kopek de Boer. It looks a hot enough and deep Supreme. So for that reason, at even money, look, I've laid him at even money, and I've also played William Money. AntePost at, I suppose, bigger than 15 to 2, but I still think he's the each way value in the race himself. Just an interesting trend on the Supreme. Constitution Hill was the only winner of the Supreme in the last 17 years to win a Supreme with less than 3 runs over hurdles. I suppose that is a question mark with Kopek de Boer. He was very, very free for 1.5 miles at Leopardstown in that grade 1. Okay, he's absolutely trounced him, and he looked a real machine in doing so. The ground obviously was it's going to be a lot quicker at Cheltenham for starters. And I suppose looking at that race, what did he actually beat? I mean, Cardiff is 40-1. He was second. It's not as if he's reopposing the likes of William Money, Work Ahead, Romeo Cudio. More or less, they're all taking each other on for the first time here in Cheltenham. And I just think, I think he's a lay at even money. And William Money, for me, I thought the last day we were both on duty, Dave, we were very, very impressed with, I suppose, the fashion in which he won at Punchestown. That listed contest won by Tully Hill. Obviously, he disappointed in the Supreme last year, Tully Hill, but he did start 11-4 favourite. I could see William Money contracting in price. It'd be lovely to see the Barry Connell colours come up the hill in front in the Michael O'Sullivan Supreme Novices Hurdle. But, I just think William Money's experience in bumpers will stand him in good stead. Seems to be getting his act together. He wears the hood for the first time. Some people might say that's a negative, but, if he settles that little bit better, I think the faster they go, you'll see a better horse in a better race, basically, William Money. I think the faster they go, the better his chances of, settling. His jumping improved the last day. And I just think, look, on ratings, he's about £10 to find with the favourite. But it's early days for these young horses. And I think he's certainly a player at 15-2 each way for Barry Connell and Sean Flanagan in the opener.
I think there's a lot of things about this Supreme that you have to take into account. You're talking about laying the favourite, which is absolutely, I'm slightly in agreement with you. I think, though, for the favourite backers, you'll be waiting until 1:17 tomorrow to see him going down the chute, making his way down to the start. He's got a hood on for the first time, not saying any of that is going to stop a horse like him. But I would be just waiting if you're going to back him. He's slightly drifting out. I think he'll go out to a price tomorrow. I think he could go off 15-8 favourite in the Supreme, more likely than even money. But I was looking at the form of this Barry today, and I was last night I was going through the race in a bit of detail. And yes, William Money, the day I saw him win with you, and we both looked at him and we both said, yes, this is very eye-catching. But then I went deeper into the form and looked at work ahead for Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore on board tomorrow for Barry Maloney. I go back and look at this performance at Leopardstown.
His jumping was brilliant, Dave.
His jumping was brilliant, galloped all the way to the line, put 7 links between himself and William Money. And yes, William Money is fully entitled to have improved, but so is work ahead from that start last time out. So for me, I'm a big work ahead fan for the opening race tomorrow for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. I think it's an outstanding chance. I really do. And look, there's no doubt about it, Kopek. The board has massive ability. But listen, the buzz that's going to be around Cheltenham tomorrow. A lot of things are going to have to go. But you are right as well in what you're saying, Barry. 3 or 4 of these runners are very much in contention for the Supreme.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
The Arkle then, Majborough, for many, is in around 4-7, Barry. And of course, lots of the professional punters are saying they're going to get stuck into him at 4-7 because they believe he's a 3s-on chance. But of course, if you're going to be in a Boyle Sports shop over at Cheltenham, we've got a fantastic length in the odds where you can choose the winning distance at Cheltenham on Majborough to win by 2, 4 or 6 lengths. And Barry Doyle, if you could, you're telling me it'd be over the 6 lengths you'd be going.
It is, and I think you cover all 3. I think Majborough, you mentioned, he could go off 3s-on. I certainly see him going off shorter than 2s-on. I think the depth in this Arkle, I think it's a weak Arkle. Load of Sud, he shouldn't be getting anywhere near Majborough on what they've done on the track, in my opinion. I just think Majborough is an absolute freak, in truth, Dave. I think, to send a 5-year-old chasing of Majborough's ability, I think was a bold call. He could have spent another year over hurdles. What he done in such a short space of time last season, Dave. Obviously, did he make his debut for Willie Mullins at a Grade 1 at Leopardstown? And the comments afterwards from Willie Mullins after he won the Triumph Hurdle was, "I cannot believe this horse didn't go off favoured." That's a big call when the horse was still a maiden in Ireland or the UK. Obviously had form from France, but he's never hidden his regard for this horse. I think Majborough, his jumping, I think he'd have learned a lot from Leopardstown the last day. Willie Mullins in this race, 6 wins in the last 10 years in the Arkle chase. And I suppose favourites have a super record here as well. 10 winning favourites in the last 13 renewals of the Arkle chase. It's all pointing in the direction of Majborough. I think Mark Walsh, without Paul Townend, 15-8 in the top jockey without Paul Townend market. I think this is his first one on the board. And there's every possibility, that Mark Walsh on day 1 of the festival could ride more winners than Paul Townend. That's my view on it. Majborough, look, 4-7. He's even money, 2 lengths or more on the Boyle Sports app with Linton the odds at the moment. 8-5, 4 or more lengths, and 9-4, 6 or more lengths. I think he'll come home on his own. I think he's quite smart.
Yeah,
very smart.
He's the real deal in this race. There's no doubt about it. You can go trying to find chinks in his armour as much as you like. I don't think you'll find him. I think he will power up the hill tomorrow, and we'll be saying, look, he won the Triumph last year at the odds of 6-1, which was massive price. You're not getting anything like that tomorrow. But then again, there isn't the same strength or depth in it. So keep it simple. Play on Lengthen the Odds on the Boyle Sports app or in store. And certainly you're getting a bit of value on Mashborough tomorrow in the 2, 4 or 6 lengths market.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
And for you, Barry, what do you think of this year's Ultima?
Yeah, I think Broadway Boy is definitely the first on the short list here, Dave. I think, single figures 7-1, more than fair. I think he's everything you want in an Ultima horse in that, he jumps, he gallops and he stays. And he does have that course form, Cheltenham form. Course form in the Ultima can be quite important. The Irish, it's been well documented, 18 years since the Irish last won the Ultima. Maybe sequestered, could be overpriced for the Gilligan stable. I thought he was good at Leopardstown when he won it. It could still be more to come from him, but Broadway Boy looks to me laid out for the Ultima. This has been the plan ever since, finishing second in the Old Hennessy. That's I suppose, over the last 12 months for me, that's the standout piece of form in here. You mentioned the Changing Man, his run. Of course, the last time at Ascot, the gap can be quite close between Ascot. That Reynoldstown, hasn't exactly churned out Cheltenham Festival winners. The gap is quite close. The race fell apart, and he's been expensive to follow this year. And I just wonder, he's had plenty of racing as well, the Changing Man. So I'd be willing to take him on at the top of the market. Just looking further out, I couldn't believe when John Joe Jr. on the podcast on our, Cheltenham Festival Handicap featured podcast mentioned about Cribilly going to the Ultima, because I thought he was nailed on for the plate. He was short of price for the plate. And I think when John just said it, he was, over 60-1 on the exchange for the Ultima. Fascinating that they come here. 138, £2 lower than when he went off favourite, of course, for the plate last season. I think the extra, the extra distance here is really going to suit Cribilly. The step up in triple definitely benefit him and help out his jumping, Dave. And Cribilly, for me, he's also, if it was to pick two in the race, one would be Broadway Boy for the Twiston Davis team at 7-1, but Cribilly priced up at 8-1, win only, because he'll either win or he won't be placed.
Yeah, that's simple as that. Yeah, that's absolutely it. Barry, we move on then to the 320 before we take our first break on the show, our only break in the show today. And we look at the Mayor's Hurdle, the Grade 1, a 2-year plan for Lassie Mount to run in a champion hurdle by the Clough-Sutton team has gone out the window. She lands here in this Mayor's Hurdle. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is, Dave, we're working together tomorrow, and I cannot wait to go for a cup of tea during the Mayor's Hurdle. I'm going for a cup of tea out of protest. And I've no strong opinion in the race, because, look, if she was working the house down at home, surely they go for the champion hurdle. Yes, so hello, Barry Doyle from the Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast. I'm here with my co-host, David Byrnes, and we're here in Sligo Town, David, in EJ Menswear and EJMenswear.com. Fantastic season ahead. EJ has kindly partnered up with us to be the men's fashion partner with Champ.ie for the season. And David, we're suited and booted. You're looking sharp.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. And this fantastic bundle and this outfit we're wearing is costing $2.99. It sets you up beautifully for the racing season ahead, which includes Leopardstown at Christmas, Thyesda's Day at Gorham Park, and of course, if you want to go even bigger, you can get togged out for the Cheltenham and Aintree festivals later on in the season.
Absolutely, and of course, check out the Champ.ie podcast right through the season, Mondays and Thursdays, and look at the offer, a tailored bundle for the racing season, $2.99, blazer, shirt, chino, socks and shoes. What's not to like, lads? Check out ejmenswear.com to find out all the racing offers.
Yes, welcome back. And of course, we'd like to get you to get involved in your support for the great charity as well at Hollow Street Hospital. And of course, they were such a great support to Barry and his wife and to the young son, Theo. Currently at €1,571 in the support so far. You can click on the link below to support if you'd like to do so. Wouldn't it be great if we could get that figure up to close on 3,000 come Friday? And we'll update you every day on how much we're going. And hopefully, Barry was saying over $2,000. I'm going to be pushing a little bit out and asking you out there, if it's only a fiver, if it's only a couple of euro, let's try and get it up to 3,000 for that great cause this week. Barry, let's move on. Champion Hurdle, you mightn't be back from the cup of tea after the Mayor's. I have an awful feeling you could be you could be going for something stronger when this Constitution Hill bolts up. We've had plenty of debate with our guests on our regular weekly show on Champ.ie about this champion hurdle. Brighter days ahead, Gordon Elliott and Jigginstown, they have risen to the challenge to take on Constitution Hill. You were telling me earlier today you don't have a strong, massive opinion on the race, but come on, let's get off the fence here now. Does Brighter Days Ahead beat Constitution Hill, in your opinion?
At the prices, Dave, at the moment, if you had to push me one way or the other, it's not a massively strong opinion. Boyle Sports are money back as a free bet if you're second to the SB favourite. It's A versus B. One is, 4-7, the other one's 9-4. For me at the moment, I would be siding with Brighter Days Ahead at the prices at the moment. Not a majorly strong opinion. I can't wait to see it. It's great that we have not Constitution Hill versus Statement, because I think Statement has had his opportunity and I don't think he's progressive. Constitution Hill of 2023, Dave, I think we were both working on the day together side by side when he absolutely bolted up. That was one of the great performances, wasn't it? I mean, he was so good in the Supreme as well. The drying ground should suit him. The big question for me and for you, Dave, and we've discussed this plenty, are you expecting the Constitution Hill of 2023 to show up, or does he need to be that good to beat Brighter Days Ahead, getting the £7? I mean, 80%, 90% Constitution Hill, do you still think he's good enough to give this mare £7?
I do. I think he's the real deal. I really think I'm not going to change now on the last hour heading into battle. I'm going to get stuck into him even at the odds tomorrow. I think it's actually just picking up money in the champion.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Barry, let's move on to the penultimate race, the 440. The more I look at this, the more I'm very much on the stencil camp. But looking at it, JP McManus has got to put your hands together as well with Joseph O'Brien, who could have some very well handicap horses through the course of this week, and Mark Walsh is on board. So despite Stencil being favoured at the moment, wouldn't be one bit surprised if the money comes to the other McManus runner in what looks an open enough race.
Well, it's always going to be very dangerous to get very heavily involved when JP McManus has three of the top four in the betting, Dave. But like you, I think Stencil, look, we spoke to James Reevely in the podcast in the build-up, and he certainly wouldn't put you off back in Stencil. I think this horse obviously had really good form at Compiègne in France, was bought obviously by JP, was fancied for, many people, including myself, fancied him maybe to shape up into a Triumph Hurdle horse. I think he could be graded level running in a handicap. He's clearly well in on ratings, looking at his French form off 135. And the race itself, I suppose, looking at the Boodles, or the Fred Winter as it's known as now, to be backing at a short price favourite is probably dangerous enough based on trends. 7 of the last 12 winners had an SP of 18-1 or bigger. So tread with caution, but I have to say I do like his profile. That's second to East India Dock. Okay, it was 10 lengths second to East India Dock, but I think he's a freak. And we'll come to him on Friday's card. I think he's one of the best bets on of the week is East India Dock. So I thought it was a really good run in second. He's obviously had the sighter around Cheltenham. The one thing I would say, look, obviously he's by Massar and wouldn't be your traditional jumping pedigree, but he's a fine strapping individual, this Stencil. I think a faster run race will suit him. He jumped a lot better, actually, Dave, and he settled a lot better than what we saw in France last time at Cheltenham. So he might just be growing up that little bit. He was gelded prior to his penultimate effort. And I just think Stencil off 135 here could potentially be very, very well in. Looking, I suppose, at the other runners, obviously, two Joseph O'Brien runners owned by JP have to be dangerous on nicer ground off low weights. Put your hands together and Beyond Your Dreams. Mercia caught the eye while finishing second to, of course, Bacchanalian at Naas in that, I suppose, red hot trial, isn't it, every single year for the Fred Winter. So she, should I say, would be of interest. And she has some nice, form in very hot company in France prior to transferring to Willie Mullins. Paul Townend has gone with Sonny Bill. But if you were asking me for one at a massive price, Dave, to get into the mix, Irla Ryan, who, of course, is riding Cool One for Conor Maxwell. This horse was bought for $1,000. And some story, this horse, and he's had 3 runs of a hurdles, Cool One. He's, he's built certainly for jumping. He was second to Bacchanalian, beaten a good 11 lengths last time, but that was to qualify, and he was second to Blue Lemons at Gowan Park. I thought it was a good run. I just think with Irla Ryan's claim here, Dave, I mean, he's carrying 10 stone 13, but claiming 7, that brings him down to a very, very low weight here, and he could be dangerous. I mean, he is priced up currently at odds of 40-1 with Boyle Sports. we mentioned the stats in terms of the bigger price runners in this. Pool 1 could outrun his odds, I think, for Conor Maxwell. But in terms of a win bet in this contest, Stencil, to me, he could be graded level in a handicap, Dave.
Yes, absolutely. Let's move on to the final race, Barry, and we look at the National Hunt Challenge Cup Novices Chase. And last time out, our selection, I think both of our selections in this final race, a horse by the name of Haughty Colours. Rebecca Curtis's runner, Ben Jones. The way this horse finished off over 3 miles last time at Newbury, 2 lengths, 3.5 behind Santos Blue and Magical King. For me, I said the minute that race was over, this horse was going to be made for this 3 mile, 5 furlong, 201 yards trip at Cheltenham in the final race on day 1.
Yeah, he's my best bet on day 1, Dave, at the prices. And I know, look, he's toward the front end of the market again. But look, at 4-1, Dave, this has been a plan for a long time for Rebecca Curtis, who mentioned this horse in the same breath as Fuelon's Boy, who won, of course, the equivalent of the Brown Advisory, which was, of course, once upon a time. And look, Haughty Colour, look, he's an 8-year-old with just 9 starts in his entire career. He's very lightly raced. I absolutely love this run. You mentioned at Newbury, over hurdles, a prep run for this. He's clearly in good spirits with himself. I think off his rating, 135, he's definitely well handicapped. Rebecca Curtis was very complimentary after his win at Cheltenham over the 3 miles and a furlong. The danger in here, I think, genuinely is the third favourite, which is Transmission. And, you know, he obviously has form tied in with Haughty Colour. You could argue that another 5 furlongs would the placings have reversed last time. Patrick Mullins on board. He knows how to ride the National Hunt chase. Obviously, different terms, different race conditions this year, being a handicap, and it's obviously open to jockeys that aren't amateurs. But Patrick Mullins certainly is no amateur, and Transmission has the course form. He'll handle that little bit of nicer ground. I think he's the biggest danger. I'll put it to you like this. Our friend John, Dave, I was just happened to be speaking to him about a half an hour ago, and he likes Transmission for this race. And I said, if you're 2 lengths down, jumping the last, and Haughty Colours in front, I said, I'll have my head in my hands, because there's no way that Transmission won't run to the line faster, I think, to Haughty Colour. I just think Haughty Colour could be that a little bit more classy, and I hope he has the race well put to bed by the stage we get to, by the time we get to the last fence in this. I think he's well handicapped. He's laid out for the race. Ben Jones on board, not Sean Bowen this time, but Ben Jones rode this horse on 4 occasions last season, so he knows the horse well. And Rebecca Curtis for this race would be a trainer that I'd really respect.
Lovely. Well, it's now time for the Napa Next Best Picks on day 1. My next best pick for day 1 of Cheltenham is Work Ahead for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore in the opening race, the Supreme. And my nap of the day is going to be that very horse we've just spoken about, Haughty Colours. We both are very much in this Haughty Colours camp, Barry, and I think that's going to be your nap pick. But I'd like to get your next best pick.
Well, I'm going to put Stencil in, because I think he's graded level running in a handicap. And look, obviously, it's the Boodles can be a tricky race, as we mentioned, but I think I'll be saving my best bets towards the end of the card on day 1 of the festival. Stencil next best in the Boodles at 5-1, and Haughty Colour in the National Hunt Chase. I'll be hoping that we can at least click one of those tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, don't forget, once again, put your 7 selections in the comment section below. And if you have 3 or more winners, we'll be adding you to the draw, which will take place on Friday, to be given a chance to win 2 tickets to the Boyle Sports Irish Grand National. And once again, we love your support for the great money that's been raised by Barry and his wife for Holles Street Hospital. We're currently at 1,571. Let's, as a team at Champ.ie and our supporters, if you win a few quid maybe on day 1, you can contribute. The link is down below. It's at 1,571 by Friday. Let's get it over 3 grand. Hopefully you enjoy day 1 of Cheltenham, because Barry Doyle and I, we are buzzing.
From Dundalk to Longchamp, from the Galway races to the Breeders' Cup, Shamrock Thoroughbreds have taken owners all over the world.
Tiger Bell in front, holds them. Late on the scene is Dawn Charger storming home, but Tiger Bell in front and won.
Coming through the centre, Laugh a Minute with a strong challenge on this Laugh a Minute, who goes on to the closing stages to win by like the Laugh a Minute from Fiscal Roots.
But it's Harry's Bar repelling the late challenge of the stable companion Dream today, and Harry's Bar makes it 6-course wins.
Check out shamrockthoroughbreds.com or click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description to learn more about new racehorse ownership opportunities.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.